and natural hygiene, USA. He is the grandson of late Acharya Dr. Lakshmana Sharma, who was the founding father of Nature Cure in India and author of the book Practical Nature Cure. I now call upon Dr. Arun Sharma to speak.
Thank you, Ananya. Om Sahana Vavatu, Sahanau Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahi, Tejasvina Vadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The whole world is our family. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, they say. We have differences. Even in one family, we each one of us is a different characteristics. We have different features, different likes and dislikes. With all that, each family tries to live within themselves with less disputes, with love for all. And that's the purpose of World Conference of Natural Health Science. Health is our greatest wealth, which cannot be compared to anything else. No matter how much wealth you have, if you don't have health, you cannot enjoy anything in life. So basic requirement for health is important. We have seen so many institutions, medical institutions, different systems all over the world, but nobody is teaching health. So it is very important for us to make this mission a world mission. That's why this World Conference is being organized from time to time, and we need to invite more institutions to come and participate and express themselves. Today, we have a select few excellent speakers who are going to share their views about natural health. Why is it important and why it is necessary for all of us to get together and make a stronger movement, stronger mission. All the 6.4 millions of species in the world follow natural health science. And there are a handful of people compared to that who are following medical systems. So we need to open our eyes and tell people, be healthy, improve your health, constantly keep improving your health in a manner that you will never fall sick. Even when you fall sick, follow the same principles more strictly and you will come out of your sickness. There is nothing called disease. Disease is only life's effort to bring us back to health. That's all there is. So we'll see from each of our speakers excellent views about natural health science. Thank you.
Thank you, Arun Sharma ji, for your talk. Now I will be presenting the next speaker. The next speaker is Dr. Achyutan Ishwar. Dr. Achyutan Ishwar is a lifestyle physician on a mission to help people prevent, treat, and reverse chronic lifestyle diseases like diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, and others through an evidence-based lifestyle-centered approach. He is a founder of Sampurna Ahara and nutritionscience.in and helps people upgrade their lifestyle and transform their health. Please give a warm welcome to Dr. Achyutan Ishwar, who will be talking about the topic, Be Your Own Doctor with Plant-Based Nutrition.
Thank you so much for the introduction, and it's fantastic to be here. I'm Dr. Achyutan Ishwar, the co-founder of nutritionscience.in and sampurnahara.com. Before I start, let me just say, can you imagine that you learn in school and in college about people who've done fantastic work, changed the world for good after they're gone, and written books which you study in college, and then When you start practicing after years, you finally get to speak on a platform with one of them. I'm lucky to have this opportunity to be speaking with Dr. Arun Sharma, such a fantastic doctor, fantastic physician, about whom and whose family we studied about in college. When we became doctors, it's absolutely fantastic to be here today. So thank you, Dr. Arun Sharma, and thank you, IMANAH Institution, for having organized this conference. I'm excited to be sharing my journey with all of you today. Let me start with a personal story. When I was young, when I was I think 12 years old, I had a dream to heal people without medicines. Now, I didn't know what this dream was, so I tried going through hypnotherapy, I tried doing martial arts, I tried doing affirmations, energy healing, all kinds of different healing modalities until I discovered yoga and naturopathy. So I became a yoga and naturopathy doctor. And this was around the time when my grandparents, who had been suffering from diabetes and hypertension for over 30 years, suddenly took a downhill diet. My grandfather one day suddenly started vomiting blood. We were very scared. We rushed him to the hospital, but he was diagnosed with internal bleeding as a side effect of the antihypertensive medicines he'd been eating for the last 30 years. The doctors tried everything they could. They reduced his medicine, they changed it to a different one, they sent him back home. But for the next 3 weeks, the vomiting kept coming back again and again and again. At the third week it happened, my grandfather got so fed up. He called me and he said, "Look, Achutan, I don't want this to continue any longer. Either give me a permanent solution or just let me go. I'm fed up." So we sent him and my grandmother, who had diabetes, to the Pavitra Nature and Yoga Hospital in Coimbatore, where under the guidance of Dr. Subramaniam and Dr. Pavitra, they adopted a plant-based diet. They started practicing naturopathic principles in their lifestyle, and they started practicing yoga every day. They came back home in 10 days, completely transformed. Their medications had reduced and their BP and sugar levels had reduced as well. So they had lost 10 kgs of weight each. My grandmother's sugar levels had come down from like 300s range down to 100 to 140, which is normal. My grandfather's BP had come down from like 200, 180 by 100 down to 120 by 80, which was normal. And all of this on 90% less medications in just 10 days. When they came back home, my family was so surprised. They said, "Wow, this is fantastic. This is a miracle." I told them, "Okay, maybe I don't think it's a miracle. It's just naturopathy. It's so simple. It's so straightforward. You can all do this at home every single day, and you can be just as healthy as well, because this is the healing power of nature. This is the healing power of the human body. And all that we need to do is give it a chance to heal itself." So we went to, during my internship, I was studying at the SDM College of Naturopathy and Yogic Sciences at this time in South India, Dharmasthala. And we went around to about some 10, 12 different hospitals to do an internship. So at all these hospitals, my friends and I noticed one thing, that people would come to these hospitals, they'd stay there for 10 days, completely transform their lifestyle, change their food habits, and become fantastically healthy. They lose weight, the BP will come down, sugar comes down, heart disease gets reversed, they're able to exercise better, they have more stamina, flexibility, energy, they feel great. Then they go back home. The next year, they come back with the same problems, only this time it's a lot worse than last time. So I spoke with one of these couples who had been coming to one of the hospitals for like 17 years in a row. And I asked them, "Look, you have diabetes, you have hypertension, you have autoimmune disease, and both of you are obese, you are coming here to this hospital every year, year after year. If the hospital stay is helping you, then why do you still have these diseases? And if the hospital stay is not helping you, why are you back here? Why are you wasting your time and money?" And they said, "Look, doctor, we come here for 10 days. We both lose 10 kgs of weight each, and then we go back home. We put on 15 kgs of weight and come back the next year." So we decided that this is a system that works great for accelerating disease reversal, for guiding people, teaching them to eat and live healthy. But what happens when you go back home? that is so much more important than what you do for those 10 days. What you do for the remaining 355 days, that's going to have a much, much bigger impact. So I decided to dedicate my life to this aspect of yoga and naturopathy, lifestyle medicine, to help people to live a healthier lifestyle and make it easier for people. So I graduated, I came back home, and my friends and I went around and visited as many different hospitals as we could find. We traveled from the north of India all the way to the southern tip, that's Kanyakumari. We traveled and we met as many doctors, clinics, hospitals as we could to find out what are people doing, how are they practicing this. I spoke to doctors from the international community. I spoke with researchers, scientists to find out what's going on. Why are patients not able to follow a healthy lifestyle at home? And based on what we found, we have created resources and tools that make it easy for you and your family to eat healthy. So let me share my journey from that point until today and some tips that you can take back home and start implementing from today if you're not doing them already. So when I came back home, my grandparents had just come back from Pavitra Hospital. I told my parents, look, Pati Tata, we call them Pati Tata because they're Tamilians. So the Pati Tata are back home and you guys need to cook healthy for them. Forget about what you're eating. Make sure you cook separately for them. So that's what we did. We would make these boiled vegetables, we'd make khichdi, we'd make salads, lots of bland food, and we'd give that to them. The rest of us ate normal food because why should we change our diet? We're not sick, we're healthy, right? This was until I found a study published in 1961, right? So before going back like 70, 80 years in our history, Indian history, at the time of independence, 1947, the first annual health report of the Corporation of Madras after independence. When you go through it, when you find out what are the top causes of death in Madras when we gained independence, why were people dying, what were the most prevalent diseases, the word heart, which you expect to be there, right? Because today heart disease is the number one killer across the world and in India as well, and in the US as well. You'd expect heart disease to be there somewhere in that list. The word heart appears, right? But it appears 2 times in that report. The first time, referring to children born with congenital heart deformities, defects, right, which is not so much lifestyle related, it's a genetic issue, it's a set of genetic issues. The second one is a tigress that died from heart failure in the Madras Zoo. There is no mention of ischemic heart disease. There's no atherosclerosis, no diabetes, no hypertension, no obesity, no asthma, no PCOS. The diseases that are so common today, no cancer. These diseases were absent. They were non-existent, almost non-existent in India just recently. Okay, and why was this the case? Well, diet surveys published from the 1920s, actually from the 1800s all the way to the 1940s, diet surveys found that a majority of Indians in India were eating a predominantly whole food, plant-based diet. The consumption of animal food was very low. The consumption of processed food was very low. We subsisted mostly on whole, unprocessed plant foods. Yes, there were, micronutrient deficiencies, there was malnutrition, there was starvation, but we were not dying from lifestyle diseases. Like there was, for example, a diet survey conducted in Bengal, in Calcutta, found that the Indians in Calcutta, and this was, I think, 1936 or so, Indians in Calcutta ate less than 1/5 of the animal protein recommended by the British Medical Association. Their diet did not contain oil in it. They had a nearly complete absence of dairy products. There was no white rice to speak of. And can you imagine, if you know anyone from Bengal today, if you know about the culture, it has everything to do with plenty of white rice, milk sweets with sugar, and lots of fish in their diet, all of which are almost absent very recently. But all of this changed from the 1960s onwards. 1961, let's fast forward to there. A group of researchers in Madras, the same city where heart disease was almost absent, a little more than a decade back. The same city, they started noticing that people with heart disease have now started going up, and there's something we need to do about it. So they decided to conduct what's called an autopsy study, where they took people who had died from unrelated causes, like road traffic accidents, unhealthy, healthy people like you and me, without any heart disease that was diagnosed, unfortunately passed away. So they cut open their chests, took a piece of their arteries, and put it under a microscope to find out how many healthy Indians already have heart disease without knowing about it. What they found, they thought they're going to find something very small, right? Heart disease was thought to be quite rare in India, especially rare in South India, definitely not in Madras. So what they found, on the other hand, was shocking. They found that above age 20, 100% of Indians already had the starting stages of heart disease. Children from age 10 to 20, 95% of them already had the starting stage of heart disease. They found heart disease in a 2.5-year-old baby. And from then until today, there's so much of research that's been done. And we know that the predisposition to heart disease starts when you're just a fetus in your mother's womb. By the time you're 10 years old, pretty much every single one of us already has the starting stages. And by the time we go into our 20s, it develops into plaques. In our 30s and 40s, it starts killing us off in the form of heart disease, as strokes, as aortas, aortic aneurysms, as gangrene, all the same disease in different parts of the body. So when I showed my family this, their first question was, what do we do? Right? So it's no longer about how do we stay healthy and maybe look at a health issue when we get it in the future. It's about how do I reverse the heart disease I already have, right? Is that even possible? Can I do it? The answer was discovered, proven in 1991 by Dr. Dean Ornish and his colleagues when they conducted the lifestyle heart trial, which proved for the first time using imaging techniques that heart disease is in fact reversible. Even if you have heart disease, if you adopt a healthy enough diet and lifestyle, you can start reversing it. You can dissolve the plaques, you can open up the arteries, you can get the blood flowing through your arteries once again. That was fantastic. So I started consulting patients. I started speaking with people about whole food plant-based nutrition. And then they'd ask me, doctor, what is this whole food plant-based nutrition? So I tell them, if I get a patient for a consultation and you're looking to reverse diabetes, then if I
Excuse
tell you,
me,
look, all you need to do.
you have only a few minutes left.
Sure, thanks for the update. Yes, so if I tell them, look, all you need to do is stop eating meat, fish, eggs, dairy products like milk, curds, cheese, yogurt, paneer, butter, buttermilk, and ghee, or also cut off oil, sugar, white rice, maida, rava, and alcohol. And that's all you need to do to reverse your diabetes. They're not going to come back to me again. So we decided to create workshops where we teach about this on nutritionscience.in, where we had fantastic results. People signed up for a plant-based diet masterclass, then got in touch with us. And they said, doctor, I've reversed diabetes. My sugar level has gone down. I've stopped my medications. I've lost weight for the first time in 10 years. I feel great. We had a couple who was trying to get a baby for like 5 years, went through multiple cycles of IVF, and then they changed to a plant-based diet and shifted their home. By the time they went to the doctor again for a rescan to restart their treatments, she was already pregnant. Such fantastic results. Then finally, people came back to us and said, doctor, this is all fine, but can you also get someone to cook this food and send it to our home? And that's when we started Sampurna Ahara, which is India's first whole food plant-based social enterprise, where we cook fantastic meals. There's South Indian meals, there's North Indian meals, there's parathas, there's pulaus and rice bowls, there are pizzas, there are pastas, there are sugar-free sweets, oil-free snacks, there are cakes and cookies, delicious dishes without a single drop of oil, without a single drop of dairy. And we even teach you all these secrets for free on our website. There are free ebooks you can download. I hope they're useful for you, and I hope that you and your family enjoy better health, just like my family and I did. So Thank you so much, Dr. Arun Sharma, once again for giving me this opportunity to speak here. I hope this talk was useful to many of you, and I hope you have a great day ahead while I go ahead and enjoy my slice of plant-based pizza with plant-based cheese on top of it. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Be blessed.
Thank you for your presentation. Now I will be introducing Nisha Srinivasan. Nisha Srinivasan is yet another techie who turned towards nature. She has been volunteering with Akarma Life and Service Space, two organizations with roots in stillness and service and gift-based ecology, with a focus squarely on being the change we wish to see in the world. I graciously invite Nisha Srinivasan to talk about unity theory from health to wellness.
Hello, so glad to be in the presence of everyone. And hello, Arun Mama. Hello, Achitan. Thank you for a wonderful talk. And I look forward to the upcoming talks as well. So we all know unity theory, right? So today I'm just trying to do an application of unity theory. And I would like to share my screen now for a mini presentation. Let's see. I hope it's visible. Yeah.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. So the journey from health to wellness is made much easier if we are aware of unity theory. And all of us who are students of nature here are very familiar with the unity theory as proposed by beloved and revered Acharya Lakshmana Sharma. You know, we have the 5 unity principles of unity of cause, unity of all diseases, unity of health, unity of all treatments, and unity of medicine and food. But there is a 6th unity principle, which Arun Mama also fondly refers to as the greatest unity principle, which is the unity of body, mind, and spirit. And if you don't like the word spirit, you can, substitute it with any word that you like your guiding principle or whatever, right? So most of the stuff here is what I personally have experienced. And therefore, it may resonate with you, it may not resonate with you. So we all know that, the combination of physical, mental, and spiritual health is much better than just having a body level fitness or dietary fitness or being, intellectually very sharp, but being a hypochondriac, and or just being, spiritually well, but not taking care of your body and mind. So this combination is what leads us to a sense of integrality, right? It's a state of being more than anything else. So how do we interpret this 6th unity principle? Like I said, it could be a state of being. We could call it completeness, wholeness, togetherness, connectedness. The 2 words that really resonate for me are, in English, I resonate with integrality, and in Sanskritam, I resonate with Purna, right? And to me, these 2 words signify the 6th unity principle that Acharya Lakshmana Sharma was talking about very concisely. Now, how do we evolve towards that, right? Because unity is like up here. How can we drill down and see what are its nuts and bolts, right? And one of the aspects of unity is the connectedness, and it's an unmissable aspect. So if we go to the web of connections, again, what connections, right? That is still at a higher level of resolution. We need to drill down further, or I needed to drill down further. And for me, the richness of connections, right, is what leaves me with a better sense of unity. Now, again, what are these connections made of, right? What are the properties of these connections? Or how do I make it better?
Ms.
Right?
Nisha?
And it came down to these 5 questions for me.
Ms. Nisha, sorry to interrupt you. You're not well. Your audio needs to be a little louder. Can you please be louder? Thank you.
Sure, I can do that. Give me a minute. I'm going to stop my video so I can take the audio much closer. Is this better?
Yes, that's much better. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So I was saying that we need to come and look at the web of connections that form the strands of unity, right? And if I want to look at this web of connections, then there are things that are underneath. And what are some questions that I can ask to look at these connections and enrich these connections, right? The first question for me, which has a lot of leverage, is how can I even see these connections? What kind of glasses do I need to wear or not wear to see these connections? And how can I deepen these connections? And when does it become synergizing, right? 1 + 1 is more than 2. And what practices do I need in my day to have these connections continuously and consciously? And more than anything else, what are the questions I need to ask, right? I feel that of these 5, 2, 3, and 4 are subjective. But 1 and 5, if we can explore together. How can I see these connections? And what are the questions I need to ask? So how do I see these connections that let me evolve towards unity? I think one of the things is to have different lenses, right? The 3 lenses that I am taking on are awareness, understanding, and actions. Because awareness gives me a sense, understanding gives me the theory, and action gives me the experience. And I feel that I need all 3, right? And the action has to be an integral action based on all 3. And the other thing I can do to see the connections clearly is to see what are all the dimensions that I am engaged in where I want to be healthy, right? We are all engaged in so many different directions, physical fitness, we get up and do yoga or go for a run or do both if you are Arun Sharmaji. And, we have environmental consciousness, and we have social connections, and we have our own emotional wellness, and we have our intellectual wellness that we display at work and otherwise, and then the creativity that again comes up everywhere, and which all connects back to our core being, right? So these are the dimensions, and you can kind of think of it as an Excel sheet where in the, on the left-hand side in the rows, you're having all these dimensions, and then on the top, right, as columns, you're having awareness, understanding, and actions. So then when you cross both, you have like a bunch of questions that one can ask. So I didn't want it to be leaving this theoretically. So I thought, why don't I illustrate with like a few questions in few dimensions under each of these categories that I asked myself, right? And again, it may make sense to you or not, but if this framework appeals to you, please do ask your own questions. So, and the only cue that I give myself for a question is that it has to be a connected question. It has to be a question that I can connect to and not something that is way out there, right? And so in the dimension.
You have only 1 more minute left.
All right. So physical wellness, right? My awareness is, can I practice graceful movements? Understanding is, why should I give up that cup of coffee? I was big on coffee. And action is, can I join a running group to take off if I cannot do it on my own, right? And similarly, there is so much that one can do. If I wanted to grow in this dimension too. So this is what I try to do, right? And can I witness every single thing I add to the dustbin for 10 seconds before I put it into the dustbin? That was like so life-changing for me. It changed everything that I did almost, in the realm of logistics and purchase and consumption. And, in emotional wellness, what am I most grateful for today is an action that I would take up. And again, social wellness, we all know how many people we can connect to with the abundance of our smile even, right? It doesn't have to be any transaction. It doesn't have to be that, you buy something for somebody as a gift. You can just smile if that's what you feel like. And of course, occupationally, there's so much one can do. And creative expressions, if you haven't heard of the term Ikigai, I would encourage you to look at it. It is where what you love meets what you do, meets, what you're good at, meets what you get paid for and what the world needs. So, encourage you to look at it. Howard Thurman, he is the father of Uma Thurman of Kill Bill. And spiritual wellness, yeah. So, if that dimension is something that interests you, try to see what questions come up for you, right? And I feel that in every moment, we all have tremendous opportunity. There's opportunity for cultivation of awareness, and there is opportunity for working with enthusiasm. And we are working towards realizing that our physical, mental, and spiritual health are one, as Acharya Lakshmana Sharma told us. It's not a theory, it seems to be the truth for me. And I would just leave us with this shloka, which we all know, or most of us know. A mother gives birth to a baby. The mother is whole, the baby is whole. Before the baby was born, mother was whole. And while she was carrying the baby, the mother was whole. After giving birth to the baby, the mother is still whole, and the baby is also whole, right? So it's Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nisha Srinivasan. I will now be calling upon Dr. Prashanti Atluri. Dr. Prashanti Atluri is a cardiologist in New Orleans, Louisiana, US. With 18+ years of experience in internal medicine and cardiology, she believes that diet and lifestyle play a key role in a healthy in preventing and healing. She encourages patients to integrate a natural lifestyle to attain optimum health. Today, she shares her learnings, natural science.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Pranam Guruji. I've been your student for so long, like this Ekalavya kind of student for so long. This is my first time standing in front of you and talking something that I wanted to share with you, and I wanted to share with you for such a long time. So here is I'm not going to waste too much of time because I just have 10 minutes to talk and I have to present so much to you guys. This is I'll never get this opportunity, so I'm going to make best use of this. So I'm an allopath, as you know, graduated in 2001, then went through internal medicine, then cardiology training, hours and hours of long training. All my days and days, a lot of sleepless nights, all of it put together is what I am at this point in my career. So I'm going to talk to you about my reflections as an allopath, as well as my journey into nature cures. Let's start. So I grew up in South India. I went to med school in Vijayawada. I'm from Andhra. And then after my marriage, I moved to the US and then did my residency and cardiology training and everything in the same institution. I was a good student. So, cardiology was one of those things that usually it's not easy to get into, but somehow I got into it. So this is, day in and day out. My day was filled up with procedures after procedures. And then, every time I walk out, I used to think did I make any difference in this, in the world of, in this patient's world? So brief thing, where I started and where I am now. So I was always into organic living, grew up in a rural setting pretty much, was not into chemicals or pesticides and everything, and none of these things, was always craving for nature. So as a cardiologist trainee in the early 2000s and late in 2010 and all that, I used to be super excited because patients would come in crashing with chest pain, near-death experience. Then we would put a stent in them, open up these coronaries, bringing patients back to life. And then, the putting almost a dead patient would come back to life. And looking at all these nuances, everything used to like really feel like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is so good. Look at this technology, look at all these things. Then I started working as a doctor, like a full-time doctor. So as I started seeing more of them, same patient would come back on the same, like after a few months, every time we would come back, like, his condition would never improve, more procedures, more pills, more blood work. At that point, like there was no happiness in them. There was no life left in them. It's just, mechanical. They would take the pill, they would take the procedure, they would come back again. So it's like, what am I making any difference in their life? Like, where am I going wrong with these people? So I had no idea. So people would come to me asking like, what should I do? I would be like, just be on a low sodium diet. But how to teach them about a low sodium diet, what to eat? We were just given 15 to 20 minutes of time to talk to them. That's the only time, because it's used to be like an industrial thing, right? We have to see 20 patients a day. We have to finish up those 20 patients. Then we have to go home. We have kids at home. So many things used to be done. So how do we improve their health? Wish I know. How do I avoid any kind of further complication? I would just say, there may be a new medication coming. There is a new gene therapy or something that's coming. Basically, I had no idea how to make them feel better other than knowing how to do procedures, how to give them prescriptions, how to tell them that it's getting worse. Okay, you progressed from heart failure. Now you're getting into kidney complication. Okay, your kidneys are not getting better. You're going to go look at dialysis as another option. But this is just like eating me away, like that whole internal turmoil that was taking place. Like I was getting a big fat paycheck, but the thing was emotionally settling me at any point. So that's when the journey started. My own health started getting worse, as well as my daughter, who was 5 at the time, wasn't doing too well with her health. Like anything she would eat, she would throw up. She would have like lots and lots of issues. That's when I was at a point of like medicating her, or to put her in some sort of a therapy. Like this 5-year-old was sitting in my lap, and then I was thinking, like, what am I supposed to be doing? Like, look at the side effects of these medications. I can't poison my daughter at this point. So that's when the research started. Like everything, like the universe has aligned things for me in such a way, like I fell into like, like Dr. Arun Sharma's teachings, and then lots of friends I met in virtual world on social media platforms like Asha, Gayatri, then Smita, then Kalyan and Achutan, all these people, I've been like following them, reading what they've been like. Achutan's website I was reading, I was doing so many things like Kalyan's write-ups. That's when I started connecting dots. Remember when Dr. Arun Sharma opened the talk, like the words he said, disease is an effort by the body to restore health. That one sentence, one statement itself was like, thousands of light bulbs went in my head. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, she is like, this child in my lap is telling me there is something in the food that's not acting right. I'm trying to feed her the same food that made her toxic, made her sick, and I'm trying to feed her another medication with so many side effects. So nothing made sense. That's those aha moments that started like, churning in my head. That kind of like, branched out into this huge tree that's kind of like, it's really branching a lot, and it's really helping me learn a lot. So Wellcure approached me in order to like, do their talks and everything. So I started reading up more on natural health, natural hygiene, Dr. Arun Sharma's teachings, and many more natural hygiene folks. So these are the books that they make us read, like nothing, like tons and tons of books, piles of medical books, and then the prescriptions, and then the pills. Nothing made sense to me anymore once I started exploring the world of natural hygiene. So my favorite quotes in natural hygiene, the stages of toxemia. If we know those stages of toxemia, those 7 stages of toxemia itself are worth few thousands of medical books, and then every reaction by the body is the right action, or the other way around, whatever you want to put it around. And then the scavengers, the germ theory versus the terrain part, is the one that makes a whole lot of sense, because there is no war within us, or there is no war that's going on outside us. It's all a part of a reset. And then the healing process all about explains to us all about, how childhood immunizations are totally against loss of of nature. And then there are many more aha moments, which I really can't present in 10 minutes of this talk, but just a few angles I'm going to show it to you today. But everything fit, like, you know, the pieces of puzzle are all over the place. And once I started reading about natural hygiene, I was able to take these pieces of puzzle and make something meaningful out of it. That's where life began for me as a doctor or as a healer or somebody who wanted to help others in order to, you know, set their health back to where it was. So stages of disease, you all know it. So, but this is like this, my biggest aha moment, because, you know, once you look at it, nothing will come in, like nothing, no, you don't need any big textbooks of pathology or any other medical sciences that allopaths read. This is it. Stages, understand what toxemia is about and how toxemia progresses and how life progresses and how disease is nothing but just a state of the pendulum. When you have more toxins, you move towards a stage of disease. When there are less toxins, you move towards towards a state of health. So it's nothing but just a process. And then COVID came on, which really taught me many more lessons of natural hygiene. So in this one, people say, oh, I had COVID. These are the people who didn't really know a whole lot about. Then there are little better informed people who would say, oh, COVID is nothing but a flu. But then the best informed natural hygienists are the ones who knew it is, as just like Dr. Sharma mentioned right now, as disease is an effort of the body to restore health. So COVID is an effort by the body to restore
Excuse
health.
me?
It's just, mhm.
You have 2
Yeah,
more
I know, a
minutes to
few more
speak.
minutes. Okay. So, and then, so scavengers, as a heart doctor, I look at these patients, right? This is endocarditis, where there are germs eating away valves of the patient, just valves after valves. We put them on lots of antibiotics. We put them on, like, you know, they undergo heart surgeries and everything. So this scavengers, the germ, like, you know, now I really understand, like, it's the bad strata, it's the bad terrain of the patient itself that invited, not invited, but the scavengers were just there in order to do their job or whatever they were supposed to be doing. But there, it's not like the germs are there and they're always lurking around trying to wage a war in our body. So this is what this one, again, the same thing, you know, amputations after amputations are done on diabetic patients or patients who have poor circulation. So is it the fault of the scavengers or is it the fault of toxemia? Of course, now we know it's the fault of toxemia. Can you imagine a world where we have a logical, reasonable explanation of these conditions and then patients heal themselves, reverse their toxemia and not resort to these extremely barbaric procedures? So this is a short case of type 1 diabetes. This mom approached me saying that her daughter was diagnosed with type 1. So at that time when I took the case, I told her, like, I don't know if I can reverse it because we were taught we can never reverse this condition. We are going to be on insulin, but the thing is, with the help of plant-based diet, we can lower her insulin numbers, we can give better quality of life, and her complication rates are going to be lower. So this is the only way to go forward. So that's how we agreed to start on this pathway. So as we started sailing on our path, mom accepted it within 48 hours. The child was off of any kind of external insulin. She was able to eat everything. She was not eat everything, eat natural food. What is meant for humans, she was able to eat them. So this was her initial diagnosis, where she went in with high levels of sugar with ketosis, which is nothing but acidosis, toxemic state. And then she came in to me with a hemoglobin A1C of 11.1. Of course, the culprit, I'm a big time anti-vaxxer. Actually, I'm very proud to say that. At this point, the child, if you look at her, so in September, but that's when she was dosed with multiple different vaccinations. And then in November, she came down with the diagnosis of type 1. So toxemia exponentially bundled up in her system. And then that made her organs go into state of shock. So we put her on as raw as possible. We educated the patients. Child is growing up in Mother Nature's lab. And now we are here with the beta glucose control. Within 48 hours, she's off of her insulin, and now her hemoglobin A1C, it trended down to 9, which is now it's trended down to 7.1. So at this point of life, I'm here to tell everyone, like, my oath that I took as do no harm. That's what I actually reflect upon every time I look at this. if now, I mean, I keep asking patients, like, do you really want to take all these pills? Do you really want to get this procedure done? At some point, I mean, it's like the world is so divided. I think the more we talk about it, the more we educate, it's going to change, but it's a slow process, but it is happening. Next slide. So what is the solution and where I intend to go from here? Like, I have multiple groups where we are educating moms, because, you know, they started this whole whole contamination of us, making us intoxicated with starting out as babies, because they would, like, you know, discourage breastfeeding, do more formula feeding. And then when the babies would get sick, then they started immunizing them. All kinds of things were
Excuse me,
started.
Dr.
So
Prashant.
yeah, I'm done. So this is the solution where I want to do. So this is where I am. So starting out with mothers, babies, educating them as a community. So we're going to grow up together. And then these more and more babies are going to go into the world, and then they're going to spread the word of natural hygiene. So special thanks to each and everybody who encouraged me, and special salutations to Dr. Arun Sharma. Thank you so much.
Thank a lot. Now we'll have Salim. Is a yoga therapist and natural health science advocate, having studied under Dr. Yogia and Dr. Arun Sharma respectively. He is also a professional Indian classical musician, a disciple of Dr. T.
Connection issues.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, we can hear you now, sir.
Okay, namaskaram to everybody. Thank you, all of you. Fantastic speeches by these different fantastic panel. I know the vision is a little bit blurred, but I think the audio is clear. Yeah. So I studied with great passion the material by Dr. Arun Sharma that came from his ancestry, and it was wonderful extension to what I had learned before for many years of yoga therapy. I've been practicing yoga therapy for almost 20 years, having learned under Yogi Ramaya in his hospital. And so to sum up the concepts of yoga therapy and how they can be useful, or how they can be logical, I think is the most important thing, how they can be scientific. The first thing that the yogis said was, you should live in tune with nature. This is the main message, one of the main messages of the Siddhas. Live in tune with nature. Of course, you look around you, we don't breathe normal air. We don't get the sun because we wear clothes all the time and then we don't go in the sun. We don't get good water. We drink water out of plastic. We drink polluted water full of chemicals that kill organisms. The food we eat is not organic, it's sprayed with pesticides and all these other things. And the spiritual practice is non-existent. These 5 things I'm talking about: fire, wind, water, earth, ether. Fire is the sun, wind, air is the way we breathe, water that we drink, the earth, the way we consume our food, and the ether, which I conceive as our spiritual practice. When you do your spiritual practice, you can grow your body of ether in a sense of the word. So what the Siddhas prescribed was, the first thing is, why do you do the Surya Namaskara? You go in the sun and you do your sun worship with with as less clothes as possible. And They also prescribed to do it before a certain time in the morning, 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, and after 4 or 5 in the evening. So they want to avoid the rays of the sun which would be harmful, the kind of rays which they talk about as causing cancer. So the prescription was you should do it before this time in the morning. You should wash your body with water, and when it's dripping wet, do the Surya Namaskara so that the light will split into 7 rays, the 7 ultraviolet rays, and you get the benefits, those benefits. So they were giving us this kind of technology, these kind of techniques thousands of years ago, whereas now they're talking about the vitamin D and everything else, but there's much more to it than vitamin D. So that's the fire element. The wind or the air element is the way you do your pranayama, and it's not pranayama is not just making the lungs move. It's not just making the breathing in a certain way. It's not just elongating your breath as much as possible. Pranic energy is moving at every level in the body throughout what they used to call the 72,000 nadis, the 72,000 nerves at the subtle level. And the practitioner of pranayama begins to feel the energy moving everywhere in the body and outside the body, what they call the aura. Yeah. So that's 2 aspects. The next aspect is the water, the way you hydrate yourself. They prescribe, don't just drink your water, eat your water. Eat your water by eating plenty of fruits. Eat your water by eating plenty of uncooked vegetables. We often say water is life because we know in science that without water, there can't be life. But what happens today is when we cook our food, that water, which maintains its life, goes into the air. So the way Dr. Arun Sharma has given us the nature cure is in perfect alignment with what the Siddhas said. Try to make sure you hydrate yourself naturally by eating what our ancestors would have eaten. They would have found various vegetables, they would have found various greens that they could eat, and they wouldn't have to have drunk so much water. They would have got a lot of their water from the food itself. The earth is becoming depleted now. We're violating the earth in so many ways, and so there's a Brahmin tradition of actually maintaining a piece of land. That's one of the things that you should do as a Brahmin. You should maintain a small piece of land. Well, of course, we realize the importance of that now, because leaving it in the hands of other people in corporations, we can't be certain of the quality of the food we receive. But also, if we are going to consume the food, it's only karma yoga, it's only logical that we should contribute to creating the food. Otherwise, the next generation will lose out definitely, and we will lose out also. So they say we only have about 40 to 60 harvests left before the soil is completely gone. So if we want to create a good body, it will be made out of the soil, which is Satguru's current message at the moment, to save the soil. Well, we have to make sure we do that. And the ether, which I say is a spiritual practice, I'd say never forget the message of Sri Ramakrishna, that love, surrender, and devotion to God is the ultimate. No matter what problems you have, love, surrender, and devotion can solve it. So the surrender should be felt. It should be felt not only in the spiritual body, in the intellectual body through mantras, in the mental body through dhyan, in the vital body through pranayama, in the physical body through everything you do. every cell of your body should vibrate with, how did Patanjali say? Surrender to Ishwar is the only way to make any of the levels of his, he talked about the 8-limb yoga, Ashtanga yoga. Any level of this yoga should be soaked in devotion and surrender to God. And of course, he explains many things in Yoga Sutras, his Yoga Sutras, that you can make the body, the physical body can become immortal. It can become indestructible, was his words. It can become indestructible by these means of chemical means. He was talking about it can become like a type of alchemy by what you ingest and everything else, and the correlation between what you ingest and the oxygen and everything else, or by the certain meditative techniques. The body can become immortal. Now, of course, Patanjali is regarded as one of the 18 Yoga Siddhas who became immortal. Out of the 90 million Siddhas, people who achieved perfection over the last 15,000 years, these 18 stand out as having ascended to the level of immortality. Bhoganatha, Agastya, Valmiki, Tirumular, all these people that have become famous, their traditions of yoga, and Babaji has resurrected their different traditions. Well, Tirumular, one of his slokas that he written, the slokas of this 18 Siddhas, the tradition was that they should meditate for one whole year and produce one sloka, 4 lines out of 1 year, as something offering to humanity. So one of his slokas is Udal Noi Marapadu Marandanalagam. To cure the body of disease is medicine. Mana Noi Marapadu Marandanalagam. To cure the mind of disease is medicine. So we're talking 4,000 years ago. He's already talked about the mind, which here in the West has been quite a recent thing with Freud and all those things, to prove the existence of the mind and to try to treat it is a very relatively recent thing. But Tirumular is already talking about curing the body of the disease of the mind. And then he says, Noi vara de tarpa de marandanilagam. To prevent disease is medicine. The disease should not come. That's the next level of medicine. And then the last level of medicine, Saha Eidal Marandanilagam. To reach the deathless state, Saha Eidal. You shouldn't know death. To reach this state is also medicine. So he's started with a very basic thing, the physical body, then the mental body, then the prevention of disease, and lastly, prevention of death. All these 18 Yoga Siddhas have all talked about immortality up to the physical level. First, you start with the spiritual level, then you become a Siddha, then you start with the intellectual level, then you become a Valmiki, you become like a scribe, then it becomes to the mental level, you become full of compassion like a Buddha, then it comes to the vital level, you become a Jesus or a Bhoganatha that becomes immortal in the vital body, that their aura is still guiding people. And lastly, you become immortal in the physical body, so you become like a Babaji or Agastya or any of the 18 Siddhas. So these are the great inspiration from the yogic sutras and the yogic traditions, which were passed down initially just by ashram. You couldn't go and learn it, but you had to go to the forest and be left there for like 15 years, complete under the care of the guru. And that ashram was like a university, the first universities.
You have 1 minute to
15,000
close
years ago.
this talk, Shiv.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
From 15,000 years ago, they had these ashrams in the forest, in the mountains, And so it was a secret thing. And that's why the Yoga Sutras of the different siddhas are a bit difficult to understand, because they were persecuted a lot by society who didn't understand what they were trying to say. So they kind of made it double meaning. However, Babaji, he has in the last 2000 years has made it available to everyone, yoga. And in fact, the word religion comes from the word yoga, because liga comes from ligar se religar. Liga is like to rejoin. So religarse is to rejoin. So liga and yoga also means to join. If you want to become holistic in your health, you should practice yoga. It doesn't matter what religion. It can be Christianity, it can be Buddhism, it can be whichever religion. But we must practice surrender to God. We must practice bringing together our physical health, our vital health, our mental health, intellectual health, and our spiritual health, practicing disciplines every day in these 5 areas. We definitely will keep evolving towards a higher state of health, which should culminate in physical immortality. Om Namaskaram. Thank you for inviting me. Om.
Shubha, you can.
Thank you, Mr. Salim Musica. That was a very interesting talk about immortality. Would like to hear more maybe next time when we have this conference. So I think this is the end of the session. Anybody has any questions, they can raise the questions. You can unmute yourself or.
Shubha,
Yeah.
we have crossed the time limit for today's session. I suggest we take the questions on email or on chat later.
Okay.
We
The
are
link is provided. Yeah, sure. The link is provided in the chat. Everybody kindly register in that link for future conferences. Anybody would like to volunteer or share their experiences, please register it, and we will get back to you on your mail ID given by you in that link. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Guruji, Dr. Arun Sharma. Because of you, we are all here, and inspired by you, we could hear so many wonderful speakers sharing their experiences. Thanks a lot, Guruji. Wonderful talk, Dr. Achyutan, regarding whole food and plant-based diet, and also about the revelation that heart diseases can be reversed. India's predisposition to heart disease was an eye-opening. And Sampurna Ahara, all the best for that. It's a lovely initiative taken by you. All the best. Mrs. Nisha Srinivasan, thanks a lot. Great insight on the unity theory. And Dr. Prashanti Atluri, thanks a lot for your reflection as an allopath and as a naturopath, and how you treated your daughter. I think many are fans of yours. I can see the chats. Many are thanking you and they loved your presentation. Thanks a lot for that, Dr. Prashanti. Thanks, Mr. Salim Musica. Thanks everybody present here. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I couldn't highlight the other speakers because they are off video. Dr. Arun Sharma, any last words from you for today?
Yeah. We find that the time allocated to each speaker was very, very little. So we want to have another conference session in 3 weeks where we will make the whole conference session for 2 hours and allocate more time to these excellent speakers. They have beautiful, very good, valuable information to share. Nisha had so many things to share, but she could not, and same way with Dr. Atluri and all that. So let us plan another after 3 weeks, and let's have 2-hour session and give chance to all these speakers in a decent manner. Last word is the same as I started with. It's our one family, health lovers all over the world. So let's make it a world mission. Together, let's join hands and let's make it a great session. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining in today. I'm just going to open the floor so you can say your thanks. Just give me a minute.
Let's meet or each one of them, let them give their name and say namaste, and that's it.
Okay, all of you are allowed to unmute yourself.
Hi, sir. Myself, Nitin from Bangalore.
Namaste, Nitin.
Namaste, sir. Actually, I'm a fashion designer. I'm working in jockey, and presently I'm a cyclist. I'm working in Cycle World in Bangalore.